name is Jeannie, and I have a special guest right now. And for my podcast, So You Think You Can Write. So she's a published author, and I would just like you to introduce. Sorry about that. My dog Bacon wants to join, and yeah. Um, so this is for my podcast, So You Think You Can Write, and my YouTube channel as well. And so I'm gonna be interviewing Debbie Civil, and she's gonna be talking about herself. So, hi Debbie, can you introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
Hi, guys. I'm Debbie Civil. I'm from Massachusetts, born and raised. I love to write. I write primarily anything to do with romance for young adults and new adult readers.
That's great. That's amazing. So Debbie, can you tell the audience and the listeners um, what makes you so amazing right now, which I find really amazing? Can you tell them your story, like how you got into writing?
Okay, so I grew up with a disease. Well, I don't know if it's so much as a disease as a condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis. It shrunk the octave nerve, so it took away my vision when I was a baby. So books have always been great for me because they painted pictures I couldn't understand in any other way. And when I was growing up, I don't know if you know this, but blind people, we love going to movies and have audio description now, but it wasn't very big when I was growing up. So I relied on books a lot. And I started reading in my third grade class this book called Sarah Plain and Tall. And I really wanted to read the other books, but I didn't know it was a series. But my teacher encouraged me, well, if you really want to know what happens after the end of the book, create your own story. And that's how I began to write.
That's great. So, yeah, I often hear people like they say that, oh, I can't write and, it's impossible. But you have proven that despite the odds and stuff, you're writing, which is really amazing. So there's really nothing stopping people from writing. So can you tell me about your first book and how you got into publishing more and more books over the years. So, but we'll talk about the first one. Yes.
Okay. My first book was The Hunter. Um, that came about. I was a sophomore in college. I know I got into the Twilight universe way too late. Definitely in 2010, my sister was like, "You have to read these books. They're so great." And I was like, "I guess so." So I read Twilight and I was like, "Wow, there's an audience for this. This is interesting. I want to create my own universe." So when I was 20, I started writing drafts and drafts of The Hunter, which is about um, soulmates that find each other. My books are definitely soulmate related, and I created this whole caste system. It was so fun, but I didn't publish it till 2014. I queried a lot of people, and I got in touch with Wingsy Press and published it in 2014, and that's how I got started.
That's amazing. And how many books have you published since then?
Oh my goodness. Probably almost 30, because I have 30. Two of them are in pre-order. I think two, yeah, two of them are in pre-order. So technically 28 are available. Two of them you can pre-order.
That's amazing. So you mentioned a publishing company, but right now, are you traditionally published or both?
Um, so I did that one book with the small press, and then I just decided to um, self-publish. To be honest, my books, I never know the where they fit or how I would query them. My imagination is just people call it interesting. I say it's more like I imagine things and then I put it down and then I don't know how to query them. So I said, just self-publish it. Get rid of the whole querying thing. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of rejection, and I didn't think I wanted to face that again.
Yeah, that's the thing about self-publishing is you can always find an audience, and I think your task as a self-published author is just to find the people, your readers, and your audience. How did you connect and find your readers? Like, yeah, how was the
Wow, I'm
process?
still trying. I find my readers I have a YouTube channel and I upload my audiobooks on YouTube. And I noticed that once I started doing that, it gave me an idea of what people like, what people don't like. Audible has definitely been a way for me to find my audience, because in Facebook groups, because with Audible, I publish through ACX, and there's two choices you can make. You could do exclusive, and when you're exclusive, they give you these codes. And so on, I would go into Facebook groups and say, hey, I have a code for my book. Who is interested? And then people would give me helpful feedback and let me know what they liked, what they didn't like. It's all about trying to find people to read your book to give you feedback. And so once I did that, I realized, oh, there must be a market on YouTube. So then I switched to a non-exclusive contract, and I've been uploading my books on YouTube and reading the comment section, and that's really been helpful as well.
That's great. That's amazing. That's really amazing. You mentioned audiobooks as well, but so who does the what you call that, the voice? Do you hire like a voice actor or?
Yes. So with ACX, anyone that has an Amazon account actually can already has KDP. It already has ACX. So ACX is pretty much like KDP, except for it's for audiobooks. So what you do is you go on there, you make a profile for your book, and you can either post an audition, aka like, just say, hey, I'm waiting for auditions for this book, and then people will audition with a script that you pick out, which is like, a 2 or 3 pages of your book, and they'll read it and they'll decide who. Or you can actively search people out. I have done both, and both have their pros and cons.
Yeah, I heard about that. I was gonna go into the ACX as well, but I heard that like the voice actor gets a cut of your royalty. Is that correct?
Okay, so that's for one of the plans. So there are 3 options you can do. The first one is you can do pay for production, which is you pay the voice actor, and then they get no cut of anything. It's just you in Audible or wherever the book is sold, splitting the cut. Then there is something called, I don't know the proper name for it, but the second option is you pay nothing. The audiobook narrator records everything, and they get a split of the profit. Or you can do a contract that has both. Like, say, if you're only paying them 25 per recorded hour, and they get some of
Proceed.
the proceeds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Yeah, because I think that's gonna be the future as well. The audiobooks is increasing, the sales are increasing. I saw like I read like an article on that one, like Audible is a form of, it's still like the audio version of our books, which is more accessible to people, especially like yourself, that can't really see the print and stuff. So which is like there's a whole like bigger market for audiobooks, and I think that's going to be um like the future of Amazon and stuff, like the audibles. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Side note, I just wanted to um, like blind people can we can listen to, we have a screen reader that helps with
Mhm.
our computer and our phones, and I'm telling you, listening to Siri read a book versus listening to the audiobook, huge difference. I'm spoiled. I'd rather the audiobook version than Siri reading a 400-page book to me.
Oh yeah,
In that
yeah.
way.
I've heard about it. I do have clients that are, have vision deficits and stuff. They do have that reader, the text to speech thing, or this yeah, that reads the stuff for them. But I think that the the accent is very like stilted, like the AI is still
Oh.
not good yet.
Yeah, not good at all. Hey, but we've come a long way technology wise, so I can't complain. It's amazing that I can pick up an iPhone, turn on voiceover, and am able to use all these apps and not have to worry about buying another software. It's literally in every single iPhone you can turn on voiceover.
That's just amazing. On that special note, though, so how is your writing process? How different is your writing process from other people's like writing process?
Well, I don't know if mine is different. It's like I do use my laptop to write.
Mhm.
Um, so what I do is music's important to me. So I'll create playlists for different series on my phone. So you'll if you look at my phone, I have a playlist for my Alien series, which I call the First Generation Universe because it's like series within a series. So I collect songs from there, and then or if I'm writing about my shifters, the Holder series has its own playlist. And what I do is in one ear, I have an earbud and I shuffle the playlist and listen to the songs. And then I type on my computer so I can still hear JAWS, which is the screen reader that I use for my laptop.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So there really is, I've spoken to a lot of authors and, like from former policemen or law enforcement lawyers and stuff like that. And I even spoke with a transgendered person and like retired people. So there's really like, what I'm trying to say is that authors come in all shapes and sizes, and there's really, as long as you have a story to tell, there's really no limitations, no matter where you come from. There's really no limitations to what you can do.
Oh,
Is
most definitely not. No limitations at all.
That's right. Yeah. So it's amazing that I'm finding so many different people through my podcast. I think my last few interviews, I had like a 9-year-old kid that I interviewed. It's just like amazing.
Oh, I know. I love it. Like kids are starting to publish books. Like this lovely lady reached out to me and was like, "Can you review my son's book?" Or like, and I said, "Sure," because I definitely will review anything. Like I love to listen to stories. So I listened to this book thinking it's like a 20-year-old writing it. Then at the end, I read acknowledgments. He only 12. And my review was like, wow, this is so put together. Didn't think a seventh grader wrote this at all. It was so science based. It was so put together, and it made me so happy because that is definitely true. He had a huge imagination. It was like a superhero science novel. It was just insane that he was only 12.
Yeah, it's really exciting. The era that we're born in right now, there's really no limitations as storytellers. We're only limited by our imagination. We literally can like, there's so many avenues now.
Yeah, so exciting.
I know it's exciting. So, are you currently working on a book right now? And can you tell the audience and the listeners right now what you're currently working on?
I'm working on a book called Captive Fate. So I mentioned earlier, I have a universe, which is pretty much like the first generation universe. So in that universe, the first series I'm writing is called Age of Chaos. So I'm doing book 4. I'm like really excited because each, um, I would say, series follows a different set of couples. So for book 4, it's about one couple is struggling because a clone kidnapped, one of the girls, and the other couple is struggling because the male in that relationship finally realizes that a big secret that his parents were hiding from him. So it's really fun. And then there's clones. Well, they're mental clones. So what happens is the clones, there's this evil scientist who realized I'm smart, but I need more of myself in order to create this super army that can destroy my sister's claim to the throne. So what he does is he kidnaps unwilling people and he implants them with this consciousness. So it's like they're like mental clones. So they all
Mhm.
think like him, all have his knowledge, but they're not him, obviously. But it's tough to fight them because it's like imagine 20 of your worst nightmare. They all think the same way, and so you're tracking them down. You're trying to like, and they're in high places too. That's the worst part.
Yeah, that really sounds like an interesting book. Yeah, I'm into science fiction myself, but more in like the movies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I just saw
Yeah.
Nope by Jordan Peele yesterday. It was really good.
Oh yeah, I saw that movie too. It's really, yeah, I love it. I love science fiction. Yeah, but it takes a special kind of writer to write that because it's very, as you mentioned earlier, very technical, and it's just a different, like for me, it's a different like animal and stuff, and it's not something like I know technically I can't go into, but it takes a lot of special skills and knowledge and stuff to just put that together. But I do appreciate like science fiction.
Oh yeah. I would say I'm more like sci-fi fantasy, like a crossover, because
Mhm.
I love magic. So there is magic in this book, romance. I would say it's like baby science fiction. Like that's
Mhm.
the only aspect, and the planet hopping, but the rest of it is definitely like fantasy. There's covens. Imagine like all of that just smashing together, because I got sick and tired of reading books of where Earth is so useless, and oh, they have no defense against alien invaders, and we're just poor little earthlings. So I created this premise where these casters are the protector of Earth, and they repelled um, the Olympians, who are a different race.
Mhm.
They're not like gods in my universe. Literally came from Olympus, which is a planet. So they repelled them, and so for 2,000 years they just kind of didn't think there was a threat to them. They're just like whatever. And then all of a sudden this new conflict happens, and then they have to like rise up and actually fight instead of being lazy.
Yeah. So yeah, my sister is a huge science fiction and fantasy fan. Like she literally has books and books. And yeah, you're right. It does like the line between science fiction and fantasy. They can mix. So there's literally of course there's purists that want like science fiction, and then the fantasy,
Yeah.
but generally that I've noticed that my sister is a fan of both science fiction and fantasy because they can coexist. Like they are like related. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
world
so
building.
it's definitely world building, but if you just are primarily like a super science fiction, you probably will not like this book, because if you're a fantasy fan though, and science fiction, you will. I think it's more for those people than like both.
Yeah, I'll tell my sister to check it out. She's like huge science fiction and fantasy fan. Like she has trilogies and like the 12 book series and stuff. She loves that. She eats it up and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm more contemporary. I love like, the current setting and stuff. So more contemporary fiction. Yeah.
Contemporary fiction, I
Yeah.
write that as well. It's a challenge for me though. It takes me forever to finish writing those books. Like I wrote this book called Unexpected Engagement, and it took me like a year to finish, because it's so hard. Because with fantasy, you get to make up whatever you. I'm better at like making up whatever I want, and like clones, like throw them in. But with contemporary, you have to be careful. You have to do your research. You have to, because
That's
it's real
right.
life.
Yeah, that's right. It's like it's a mix between like real life and like some elements of fantasy. Yeah, it is it's a different setting and genre, but we all struggle with like writer's block. So how
Oh
do
yeah.
you deal with writer's block?
So I'm currently suffering through it right now. Um, so what I do is honestly, I change my setting. Like I will be like, hey sis, like I told her today, because I definitely commandeered her apartment. So I was like, oh, I might stay here and try to write something. And she was like, oh, okay. So I changed my setting. Music is definitely help. Or what I did the last time I'd write something that wasn't serious. I find that like veering from your project sometimes, and writing something nonsensical or something that you probably won't publish, but you do it for yourself, it like kind of like unlocks the creativity. So like what happens is I'll be writing something that's just not going to be published, and then a scene will happen. I'll be like, hey, this would be good for captive fate. Oh, and then you know what I'm saying? You gotta, I guess it's like how I handle writer's block is just write. Not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything's going to be publishable, but it's okay.
That's right. Yeah, that's why we have manuscripts and drafts, and we have editors as well. Like, the editors, the initially like that will like check it out if everything like
Yeah.
fitting together, or if it's a mishmash of like, hey, this doesn't make sense. So that's why we need, all that process and stuff. But what is your writing process? Can you describe your typical day for me, like as a writer?
My typical day as a writer. Let's see. I work the early shift at a call center. So I wake up very early, like at 6 o'clock. It's 5:30 if I have to go into the office. After that, my day ends at 3:30. This is perfect for a writer because then I go home. I listen to music to clear my head, and then I'll write a chapter. And then what I'll do is I write one book, but I'll edit another, if that makes any sense to you. Like, for instance, Captive Magic is the third book in that series, and it's already done. The editors have already, my editor has already went over it, but I'm doing one final read through before I upload the manuscript. So I'll read a little bit of that, but then work on Captive Fate after. So it's like an assembly line kind of. So I split my time between that. What I notice more is I definitely need to focus more time on social media. So I think I'll probably put in a half an hour block just to try to be on social media more. I'm terrible at it though. I'll do it religiously for like a month and then just not post anything. I'm terrible. I think that's the thing I struggle with the most.
Okay, yeah, I think everybody has some struggles, especially in writing, but that's amazing. So you have a full-time job, and after your work, you write. So how many do you have, like a word count, like that?
So
Yeah.
if it's Captive, like Treasure, that series, I try to do 2,000 word chapters. So I do that. If it's My Bride's Dock on Portum Island, the chapters are 1,500. So I could probably do 2 chapters. It all literally depends on the chapter length. But if I wasn't working and I literally had a day off, I could probably write like 6K a day if on weekends.
Wow. So like how long does it take you to write like one book, like typically?
Ah, if I know what's going on and I plotted it, a month. If I don't know what's going on and I'm writing, I'm a pantser. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I just write and write and write, and then I'll take things apart and say, hey, this is a good idea, but get rid of that. That month and a half. But if I'm struggling, like what happened with unexpected engagement, a year. It depends.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm actually both. I'm a plotter and then a pantser. Like, so I do plot the skeleton and stuff, so to speak.
Yeah.
But then with each thing, I'm not. They do recommend that you just really sit down and like finish the entire like plotting and stuff. That's what they recommend. But I find that it really stops me creatively, like it prevents you from being really creative. So yeah. And that's amazing. You mentioned like you have a creative exercise, because it actually does work. Doing something creative has like an effect on your writing. So, even if it's painting, listen to music, making music or whatever, it's like getting your creative juices flowing and stuff. So that's a good tip.
Most definitely. And I myself, I can't get locked into a plot too much. It'll just be skeleton, like you described. Like, this person's gonna die at the end of book 2. Okay, well, this couple is gonna end up together. Like, it's stuff like that, like basic stuff, and then I'll fill it in with my pantsing.
Oh, so you just have a beginning and then an end, and then you feel like everything in between.
Yes, because it helps to know where you're going. Because like my friend used to ask me when he read the drafts of The Hunter, he used to be like, "What's the payoff? Like, why am I reading this? You need to really figure out what the payoff to this is, Debbie, because all I'm reading is battle scene after battle scene. Where's this going?" So that's what I really learned how to do that.
Yeah, that's nice. So what you call that to the listeners and also the audience, if they're on YouTube or my podcast, whichever platform they're on. What, especially to the would-be authors or the people that want to be authors, what is the one advice that you can give them?
Get writer friends. Forget about people that like don't understand writing, because I find that they don't mean to, but sometimes if you ask questions about your friends and ask questions to your friends that they don't write, they tend to give like unenthusiastic responses, and then it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel like, well, maybe they don't take me seriously, but it's really just they just don't get the process. So get writers friends. No one's gonna love your project more than you. I like that one because it's so true. Like I can talk to you about like my books all day long. Doesn't mean you want to hear it, but just remember, you're your biggest fan and you're the advocate for your book, and you're the one that's good. You're the creator of your own universe. So don't let what people say affect you. Also, be able, this is a lot of advice, but also be able to take criticism constructively. Like if someone's saying, "Oh, your book sucks," that doesn't help. But if someone said, "I'm confused. I'm not sure who's speaking in this paragraph, and I'm not sure like this couple doesn't have any chemistry," that stuff you need to listen to, because I know it's hard, because like you're like the book parent, so you don't ever want to hear criticism about your baby, but sometimes that actually helps you as a writer. Like when I said, my friend used to tell me, "What's the payoff?" when I was new.
Right. Yeah, I actually have hired like a developmental editor, which is what you're talking about, like just someone that looks at the whole big picture
Exactly.
and then tells you like, ah, this scene doesn't make sense. Yeah, so you do need, if people are going to take writing seriously, they will need an editor. It's just important. It's just part of the process.
Editors are super useful. Like I used to have cognitivity like issues, like continuity, my bad, continuity issues, where like all of a sudden my character who hates orange juice drinks orange juice. My editor would be like, "But I thought you said on page 3 she can't stand orange juice. Why is she drinking it? That's weird. Pick a different juice to hate. I hate grapefruit juice. Pick that one instead." Stuff like that. Like even small stuff. You have to stay true to your characters and remember your characters also need hobbies. Like I always try to be like, okay, this character likes to sing. This one likes to cook. That one likes to paint. Like I try to give them hobbies to make them relatable. I know that's how I write. I don't know. Other people may not do that, but
Yeah. And just one final word. Can you tell the audience where we can find you, and I'll also provide the show links below, like the show notes. Just mention briefly where they can find you.
well, you can find me on YouTube, Debbie Civil, and then that's where all my like all the audiobooks that I don't have that are non-exclusive with ACX are located. You can find me on Amazon. I'm starting to move all my books to Kindle Unlimited, but certain series you can also find me on Apple, wherever books are sold, and on Twitter, um, Instagram, and Facebook. So definitely, I love to chat. So please feel free to reach out in those platforms.
Yeah, and thank you very much for your time, Debbie. And I hope, like, if you want to talk to me, like, months from now and stuff, just contact me, and we'll do, another interview and stuff. I would like to have you back on my show.
Oh, I'd love to be back.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you.
yeah, and thank you very much for your time. Okay,
Yeah, no problem.
thank you everybody for listening or watching. Thank you.